Let's take a moment to closely examine the situation first. Earlier, you mentioned that the ambitious target for this year is actually set at 25,000, which at first glance seems nearly impossible to achieve. Therefore, during the first half of the year, it truly felt unachievable.
The resistance level we are currently observing is approximately 27,000. We discussed this key figure at the beginning of July, and now it is nearing that mark. However, we need to identify new catalysts to support a potential upward movement. The challenge facing the market is that there is considerable resistance combined with insufficient momentum to drive prices higher at this time. Yes, that's right. Without enough strong momentum, the money that needs to flow in has already been exhausted. Is there any new funding available? Actually, no, right? Right now, you can't see any new money coming into your account.
Regarding foreign funds, we have previously highlighted that these funds are currently retaining a significant amount of capital. Typically, they tend to enter the market to stimulate growth and drive prices upward. However, it is important to recognize that reaching the 25,000 mark is fundamentally different from the earlier upward momentum we observed when the market was climbing from 19,000. The dynamics and market conditions have evolved, making this situation more complex.
You're not starting from 19,000, rather you're approaching these levels from a completely flat position, correct? Yes, exactly. Originally, the Bank of China had tightened interest rates significantly to 8%, and now you can see just how many percentage points it has changed, right? So your attractiveness has diminished.
However, in the current market landscape, there are now significantly more people engaging in discussions about the advantages of purchasing high-yield stocks. I heard you mention this topic recently. Ha ha ha. Additionally, I'm also eager to discuss the top 7 high-yield stocks available in the Hong Kong market right now, as they have garnered considerable attention and interest among investors seeking better returns. Which 7 stocks? Let me think. I don't have the list on hand because I didn't copy it. But previously, Casta mentioned that when we were discussing, they talked about a stock that pays dividends monthly, which actually retains a lot of funds.
Of course, yes. This isn't a fact. I'm just joking. But of course, you have market intuition, so you're in sync with the market. Yes, the market is continuously seeking out new opportunities for growth and investment. If that were not the case, how would major financial institutions such as the Industrial and Commercial Bank of China or the China Construction Bank suddenly garner significant attention? These banks had been largely overlooked for many years, but now they are at the forefront of the market's interest. There are quite a few reasons. Sometimes the reason for this is that if you have some money to spare, you are required to invest it specifically in Hong Kong, which means that your investment has to be made in Hong Kong dollars, the local currency of that region. So what kind of returns can you realistically expect on your Hong Kong dollar assets? In truth, there aren't many viable options available. Your choices are primarily limited to either real estate property or high-yield dividend stocks. It's incredibly hot outside, and the property market appears to be quite severe at the moment. However, we tend to believe that a significant market crash is imminent. Nevertheless, if we look closely at the rental market, it's not showing signs of dying. This suggests that the property market as a whole is unlikely to collapse completely anytime soon. First, the rental market has to die. However, look closely, there are still numerous tenants actively competing for available rental listings. This particular situation is currently taking place. As a tenant, do you find it easy and straightforward to secure a rental property? Is negotiating the price easy? Can you pressure the landlord?
Negotiating is indeed quite challenging, but there still appear to be numerous listings available in the market. I'm not entirely certain if this is directly connected, but I recently observed in the news that Hong Kong is actively attracting many talented individuals from around the world, and a significant number of students are arriving to compete for available spots. What I mean to convey is that in addition to the competition for school placements, there is also fierce competition for available beds in housing. Therefore, could it be possible that a significant number of students or exceptionally talented individuals are contributing to this urgent demand in the housing market? Many people frequently wonder just how long property prices will continue to decline. It may be wiser to rent currently. Wait for the market to stabilize and show clear signs of recovery before making any decisions to enter the property market. But does this reasoning truly hold up under current economic conditions?
If you already own a residential property, there are essentially 2 distinct scenarios to consider. One scenario is that you currently own a property, and the other scenario is that you do not own any property at all. If you find yourself in the situation where you don't own a property, it might be a wise decision to rent a place first while you wait and explore your options. I believe that this approach is both reasonable and logical, allowing you to make informed choices about your future living arrangements. However, if you already own a property and decide to sell it in order to rent while anticipating a drop in market prices, that approach could ultimately lead to wasted time. It's quite challenging to accurately wait for the market to reach its lowest point. Because this approach is fundamentally flawed and misguided. Owning a home, especially for personal use, isn't just a straightforward calculation. It involves emotional, financial, and lifestyle considerations that can significantly impact one's quality of life. Owning a home involves thorough cash flow calculations that go beyond the initial buying and selling price. You need to consider all aspects of cash flow rather than simply thinking, I bought the property for $6 million and later sold it for $5 million, so I made a loss of $1 million. It's not calculated in that straightforward manner. However, you're absolutely correct that many individuals tend to think in that simplistic way, which is precisely why some consistently emerge victorious while others continually face defeat. Additionally, it can be quite challenging to identify the true bottom in such situations.
However, in the coming years, there will still be a plethora of new developments emerging, so people might find themselves eagerly waiting or hoping for appealing and attractive properties to become available on the market. So today, in relation to the current market situation, I mentioned earlier that the A shares are not performing well overall. In addition to PopMart, which has shown significant growth, another sector that has notably surged in performance is the paper industry, which is experiencing increased demand and profitability. This contrast highlights the varying trends within the market, showcasing how certain sectors can thrive even when others are struggling. Now, when considering why it has surged so dramatically, could it possibly be linked to their proactive anti-involution initiative aimed at addressing these challenges? I don't know if you've noticed recently, but the Guangdong Provincial Paper Industry Association has officially released a comprehensive initiative aimed at promoting anti-involution within the paper industry. This initiative seeks to address the challenges of excessive competition and resource depletion, encouraging more sustainable practices and collaboration among industry players to foster a healthier market environment. It aims to firmly resist low-priced, disorderly competition and maintain fair market order, avoiding low-cost promotions and improper means to gain subsidies or seize market share. Currently, the ongoing low-price war has significantly impacted the paper industry. Today, surprisingly, the best-performing stock in this sector is actually Kowloon, identified by the number 2689.
The stock price of $26.89 has experienced an increase of approximately 10%. It is currently trading around that notable level. In comparison, Kowloon Industries has seen an even more significant rise today, outperforming the general market trend.
But how do you perceive ZA in the current market landscape? I recall engaging in numerous conversations with industry seniors who frequently expressed the belief that ZA stocks were significantly influenced by logistics concepts, particularly during festive seasons when demand surges. Their insights suggested a connection between seasonal trends and the stock's performance, shedding light on its potential volatility during these peak periods. They often suggest that during holiday seasons, stocks such as ZA could experience significant surges in value. However, I would genuinely appreciate hearing your insights and perspectives on this particular sector, especially since we haven't delved into it in much detail during our previous discussions.
Counting traditional industrial stocks are definitely counted. You can certainly speculate on various logistics concepts, innovative e-commerce ideas, effective recovery strategies, and relevant RMB, renminbi concepts. There's absolutely nothing wrong with exploring those topics. But you have to ask yourself if you're a speculator. If you're a speculator, you see momentum and jump in. I think without that, you can't analyze this. But if you analyze based on fundamentals, these stocks are quite expensive and it could lead to losses. Look at the PE ratio, it's over 30. Why am I considering not purchasing shares in Tencent or Alibaba, right? I can't fully convince myself of this, yet I still choose to hold on, right? There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. Today, it offers you a 10% return, but consider this. If you purchased at the peak price of 7, how long will it take for you to recover from your losses? When will it be 7 again? We're talking about 2022 or 2023. Even after 2 or 3 years, you're still losing money. Each time it rises, you won't sell. Last year or this year, you saw it at 5 and you didn't sell. Then last September, it was at 4.5 and you still didn't sell. By continually holding on, you create a situation that becomes increasingly challenging. When you begin to count and evaluate your feelings or circumstances, it serves as an important warning sign that something needs to change. Yes, if you're really doing short-term trading, this time you can't follow. It's a significant breakthrough in the market, but even if you decide to follow this trend, you must be patient and wait for a pullback to ensure a safer entry point. Additionally, you need to closely examine the various indicators. Notably, the RSI is quite exaggerated right now, soaring over 80.
Absolutely. Gary also mentioned that he only took half of it, correct? So when you're trading stocks, you absolutely must consider whether it's wise to purchase at these current levels. It's perfectly fine to buy, but in addition to that, today there are a few other stocks worth noting, such as stock number 2314, which could also present interesting opportunities for investment. Furthermore, in relation to the 1812 situation, it is noteworthy that nearly everyone has experienced an increase ranging from approximately 5 to 8%. A significant highlight in this context is the impressive performance of Yangguang paper industry, particularly noted in 2002. In the realm of paper stocks, if you are considering a strategy to short sell, now presents an opportune moment to take action. As Christmas is fast approaching, followed closely by the New Year celebration, many investors are contemplating which paper stocks to consider for their portfolios. Among the various options available, which one would be a more favorable choice? While there are no rigid criteria to follow, it is generally understood that if you are looking to invest wisely, your first choice should always be Juji for its strong performance and potential.
Really? Because my work involves handling various types of boxes and packaging materials, I frequently encounter well-known brands like Yangguang. These brands often set the trends in the market, and typically, when discussing Li Min, we notice that it usually experiences a rise in popularity and sales. Li Min consistently demonstrates strong performance, standing out among competitors, while second-tier brands usually tend to show less impressive results and performance metrics in comparison. Professional stocks have historically followed this pattern, whether related to RMB concepts or e-commerce. Li Min has experienced a notable rise of 5% today, and at this current level, it appears to be forming a potential double top pattern. However, it's worth noting that its valuation is now more comfortable, featuring a single-digit PE ratio, which many investors may find appealing. Additionally, Li Min operates multiple factories, which are strategically located not only in mainland China, but also in Vietnam, enhancing its production capabilities and market reach.
Additionally, during festive seasons, people often enjoy trading paper stocks as a popular pastime. Each year, there tends to be a specific trend that captures the interest of traders, adding excitement to the stock market during these celebratory times. Every year around the month of September, numerous investors and traders actively engage in buying and selling stocks from a prominent technology sector company, which is Apple. Oh, you frown slightly because Apple is about to hold an exciting launch event showcasing their latest products and innovations.
If the iPhone is coming out, is it the 17?
Yes, 17, okay, 17.
So, will the 17 be announced soon?
In the past, many individuals were expressing the opinion that there would be no new features introduced for the 17 version. However, I distinctly recall there being discussions about potential updates. Despite those initial conversations, it now appears quite unlikely that any new features will actually be implemented. However, it's widely reported that 4 distinct models of the iPhone 17 will be released soon, and in addition to that, there will also be a new version of the highly anticipated Apple Watch, along with an upgraded version of the popular AirPods, which are expected to feature exciting improvements. According to the latest news reports, there is an anticipated launch event scheduled for September 9th. This information has been circulating widely in the market, which is likely the reason why BYD Electronics has experienced an uptick today, achieving a notable increase of 7.6% and ultimately closing at a strong price of 37.8. So, there are several other Apple concept stocks that have experienced a rise today in 2018, which also observed a slight increase in value. You can see that it initially rose before experiencing a pullback, indicating that these stocks still possess the potential for further gains, which is notably impressive. The trading day in 2018 ultimately closed at a price of 30.43. Additionally, there's Sony Optical listed under stock number 2382, which closed its trading today at a price of 74.3 per share. No, first let's talk about BYD Electronics. It actually rose yesterday, and people generally seem to prefer trading BYD Electronics as it appears easier to trade.
BYD's reputation in the automotive industry is quite noteworthy, haha. Of course, yes, I acknowledge that the stock price at 1211 was previously soaring high but hasn't undergone a split yet. Everyone is simply waiting to see what happens next, right? However, no one is claiming that the company or its prospects are unfavorable. Well, let's keep an eye on it as it unfolds on TV and see how things progress. Okay, if you take a moment to consider their current valuation, it's actually not expensive at all right now. They specialize in producing phone cases, specifically high-end premium phone cases that appeal to discerning customers. I believe with this innovative concept, the price could potentially rise a bit higher, possibly around $4, so be sure to keep a close eye on it as it develops further. Currently around $4, yes, it has successfully broken through previous highs, surpassing the significant levels from May 12th.
Now, RYC has reached this 70.
Let's estimate 80, but we can say 80 for the time being. You can observe that there's a certain amount of money flowing in, and it appears that this trend has the potential to extend even further. Additionally, let's take a closer look at Mercury. Its value has risen by 4 today. While this increase might not seem significant at first glance, do you believe that the broader trend indicates a possible breakout? However, the question remains, will this anticipated breakout be delayed in its progression? There might be a possibility of experiencing a noticeable lag in trading activities. While these assets generally exhibit low correlation, it is important to note that the year 2018 shows a significantly higher correlation with the asset labeled 2382. However, despite this correlation, it is worth mentioning that the recent performance of asset 2382 has been disappointing and underwhelming. Compared to the year 2018, it consistently lags behind, so I believe that selecting 2018 would be a better option than choosing 2382.
Because today, even 2382, Evan, you mentioned it's an Apple concept stock, but its increase is really not significant. And the inflow of money doesn't seem to be substantial either. So considering the 3 stocks, I would only pick 2 to discuss with you.
Oh, I thought you liked 2018 among the 3.
No, I just noticed money starting to come in.
No, he is quite the fool indeed. Typically, he tends to move quite quickly whenever he feels the urge to go out. You repeatedly say he's a fool, a fool, a fool, don't you? He's similar to electricity in the way he sparks energy, but lately, it seems he's been much more focused on taking time to nurture himself and reflect on his own needs. This shift in priority is quite notable, as it suggests a deeper level of self-awareness that he appears to be embracing. He dropped from over $50, which was quite significant and really wrong at that particular time. However, now it seems like he has managed to establish a bit of a safety net for himself. I believe we should closely examine the numbers, particularly focusing on 4 and around 2, as these figures may provide us with important insights moving forward.
It's important to remain optimistic about the possibility of a lower price in the near future. As it stands, the current price is somewhat lower than before, which is a positive development. Regarding the Apple concept that I previously discussed in the last episode, I've been contemplating how Apple seems to be diminishing in its level of innovation over recent years. If they really release a new device, it might create some buzz again. I mean, they should be promoting something like the new optical technology, right? Is it the 2382?
Is it?
Is Scott quietly promoting the products himself without allowing others to do so? I haven't seen him in a while.
There has been quite a bit of discussion regarding this topic. I've been closely following the detailed analysis and emerging trends, and the consensus among experts seems to indicate that this upcoming release event is unlikely to showcase the new device we've all been anticipating. Instead, it appears that the next opportunity to see this much-awaited device will be sometime next year, either in March or possibly in September, based on the latest information available. They have 3 distinct types of Apple events. One is specifically dedicated to new product launches, featuring retail sales announcements, closely resembling the extensive presentations that Legion often delivers, which can last for about 3 hours. One is the developer conference. It's rare for someone from the tech side to speak publicly. It's typically the chief technology officer, CTO, who steps forward to actively engage with the development team and foster collaboration. The other occasion often involves the launch of new products or significant product announcements, which could include the unveiling of an innovative new iPad model or the release of an upgraded Mac computer.
We really should keep a close eye on that situation. However, if you believe the foldable device will only be released next year, it will indeed be 2027.
Oh, sometimes the product development cycle can be incredibly fast-paced. You can truly see the efficiency of their supply chain. The concept of the foldable device isn't entirely new. In fact, the supply chain for it has already been established and functioning smoothly. It's just that Apple tends to be quite slow in bringing such innovative products to market for various strategic reasons. I feel quite weak and uncertain about this situation. I think it might not be a good idea. Of course, sometimes we use it and feel fantastic, but Apple's approach consistently revolves around whether my apps can effectively keep up with their evolving standards and requirements. Yeah, can I keep up with the monitor's updates? Because the monitor's changes have 2 aspects. Apple now has 2 sizes, right? Is it 2 or 3 sizes? 3 sizes. So if you connect the device as suggested, the apples that you previously believed exhibited a perfect golden ratio through the app may surprisingly transform into something that resembles a blunt knife, lacking the expected sharpness and precision. If the basket is wider, the apples might not look as good or appealing visually. So this aspect focuses purely on aesthetics, without considering the overall user experience. This has consistently been a notable weakness for Apple. One could argue that point. However, it's important to note that the issue isn't solely about being slow or sluggish in performance. There are deeper implications concerning functionality as well. Consumers generally don't care about the complexities. Tech professionals often have numerous explanations for what can and can't be accomplished, but consumers will typically never pay attention to your detailed explanations or technical jargon. So, Gary just mentioned something interesting. I'm not sure if you completely agree with his perspective that Apple has never truly focused on competing solely based on newness. Personally, I agree with him. Technically speaking, they often do not utilize the most cutting-edge technology available on the market. Quality is important. As when Apple takes photos, you often hear someone say Apple is filming, but whoever mentions filming with Xiaomi, it won't happen, right? So Apple is unlikely to openly declare which camera brand is better or worse. That's simply a fact. Apple's long-standing strategy has never been to publicly say, I'll choose a particular camera brand to make my lens appear superior or more impressive. Then I'll head backstage to make some adjustments and fine-tune various settings as needed. However, that approach is not aligned with Apple's overarching strategy. Naturally, there are individuals who appreciate these specific strategies, so they will end up purchasing a multitude of devices to suit their preferences.
So, everyone can pay close attention to how Apple's upcoming trends will unfold in September to see if there are any exciting new devices being announced. However, when it comes to the other sectors within the industry, we've discussed this topic in previous conversations. I would like to specifically inquire about the stock labeled 2508, which pertains to the half-body drum. In 2508, I clearly remember our previous conversation, which centered around its highly anticipated IPO. It skyrocketed in value, resulting in an impressive market capitalization of $720 million. Furthermore, the demand was so overwhelming that the oversubscription rate reached an astonishing 152 times, highlighting the strong interest from investors. After experiencing a significant surge, the trend has now stabilized at 7.72. What are your thoughts on the current performance of the stock? Additionally, could you provide insights on the key shareholders? Notably, Tencent and Swire Properties are among the involved entities in this investment scenario.
Is it really that impressive with Swire Properties?
Yes, I just saw it moments ago right now, correct? Yes, indeed, Swire Properties is also one of their key shareholders. Is it really impressive? Could you elaborate on why you believe Swire Properties is particularly strong?
Hey, these aren't just some random new concept stocks. The issue here is that these businesses, frankly speaking, if you were to ask me to sell salted peanuts, I would have to question the rationale behind such a decision and whether it makes any sense for me to do so at all.
Hey, the confinement center is really good.
Why is that?
You mentioned to me that there is a woman involved, and I have a few friends who have provided quoted prices. Even if it's a person you are familiar with, they have quoted prices around $10,000 for a diamond.
So do they charge you more? That's what I said.
Hey, the service here is truly exceptional as it offers 5-star hotel quality. Every day, skilled traditional Chinese medicine therapists are available to provide treatments that enhance your overall well-being and rejuvenate your body.
Oh no, I'm just interrupting. How long does 10,000 cover?
Hey, that covers the entire confinement period, which should ideally be around 1 to 2 months, correct?
How would I know? I'm also in confinement with you, buddy.
Hey, since I don't have much information to go on, are you currently going through the confinement process? Even if I'm not entirely certain, I would like to discuss a time frame of around 1 to 1.5 months, because even if I decide to hire Evan, what would you call that situation? Hiring a confinement helper now costs over $40,000, making it a significant investment for new parents.
Isn't it 9 for just 1 month? If it's for 2 full months, then the total is 80,000. In reality, they receive 20,000, but they are relieved from having to do laundry or clean the house themselves. I'm uncertain whether the 100,000 refers to 1 month or 2 months of service. However, I must say that 100,000 doesn't seem expensive at all for the services provided.
$100,000 is costly. For a woman's overall health and well-being, I believe it is not overly expensive, as proper confinement period care is crucial and very important. For women, failing to observe confinement properly can significantly impact your health and well-being in the long run.
Right. They say that if no one is giving birth, then what is the actual demand for confinement care during the postpartum period?
It's like, haha, from mainland, people come to Hong Kong for confinement, but actually now more Hong Kong people go to mainland for confinement.
I'm not discussing that topic initially. By the way, does he have any shareholders linked to Taiku? Is he involved as a mechanical investor? I noticed that Taiku's shareholders include Tencent, correct? No, the least significant holding is indeed Ningbo, correct? The investment stake held by them is 5%. Beijing Gaorong Capital Management has a 6% share, and Lin Yuanyun possesses a 9.5% stake, while Tencent holds a substantial 10% of the total shares. Xianghua holds a significant stake as a major shareholder, owning 34% of the company, whereas Taiku Properties has no ownership share. We should verify this information, as I currently do not possess these details. It's possible that there are cornerstone investors involved in this situation. Yes, cornerstone investors, after making their investment, continue to be active shareholders in the company. But how do you truly judge a business? I've always approached this question in a particular way. It's not merely about glancing at the surface and concluding that it's profitable. It's akin to visiting a restaurant and inquiring about the cost of a plate of stir-fried rice noodles. You might initially think it's just $4 for the noodles, but then you realize that the beef could cost $10 on top of that. Understanding the full picture requires deeper insight into all the components involved. Even if you add a dash of soy sauce, the overall cost for the heaping plate of delicious stir-fried rice noodles wouldn't even reach $10. If you purchase items for approximately $60 to $70, then you can expect to see a good profit margin. The profit potential in the food industry tends to be quite substantial because essentially you only need to factor in the combined cost of labor and rent. Remarkably, you can achieve a high profit margin. In fact, even with minimal effort, it can reach around 70%. This makes it an attractive business venture. But then, shouldn't many people be actively opening their own restaurants? Yes, and indeed many enthusiastic individuals are willing to invest their time and money, but it's not really just about whether you can earn a profit. First, your profit margin isn't that high in the food service industry. Second, is your market continuously expanding in a sustainable way? Is there significant potential for growth and long-term success? That's what we call an easy business opportunity, one that truly attracts aspiring entrepreneurs and investors alike. But for a confinement center, the most direct and pressing demand is whether many people are actually having babies there. That's the first crucial point to consider. Second, how high is the entry barrier for new competitors? Is it relatively easy for others to enter the market? It's quite obvious that it's easier than one might think, right? To succeed, you need to provide so-called five-star nurturing services that meet the needs and expectations of new parents. What you can actually achieve is something that many others have already come to recognize and understand. To begin with, the current situation in mainland China reveals a concerning and continuous decline in the population that has persisted for 3 consecutive years. The birth rate in the country is alarmingly low. In fact, in China, the birth rate is significantly lower than that of many developed countries around the world. Specifically, in Hong Kong, it stands at a notably low rate of approximately 0.6, highlighting the demographic challenges faced in these regions. What specific level are we discussing? It's comparable to that of Japan and South Korea, with Japan being slightly higher in terms of overall performance and metrics. However, countries such as Germany and the United Kingdom currently maintain higher birth rates than China. Notably, all of these nations have birth rates above the crucial threshold of 1. Given these circumstances, how can they effectively work to expand their respective markets? How can one effectively find a viable market? You mentioned that confinement is extremely important, correct? If you neglect to practice confinement, it could potentially harm your overall health. However, I remain quite skeptical about whether this practice is limited solely to individuals of Chinese heritage or descent. Take a closer look at Westerners. They typically do not embrace the idea of confinement. While they might take some time to rest and relax, it's unlikely that you'll find them busily boiling soups or engaging in extensive cooking activities, correct? Right, so for them, this particular market isn't considered significant or important at all. But of course, they do need rest. They definitely need recovery after childbirth.
But will the rich cultural aspect significantly influence their decisions and perspectives?
If that's indeed the case, there are numerous promising opportunities available, particularly in the realm of traditional Chinese medicine. Many Westerners remain largely unfamiliar with its principles and practices. However, if they take the time to learn about its benefits, it could develop and gain popularity rapidly in their regions. However, it's important to note that it's not necessarily effective in every situation. You shouldn't be overly concerned if it works or not. At least all businesses engaged in traditional medicine or those offering proprietary Chinese medicines are likely to thrive and flourish. Nevertheless, Gary mentioned that foreign workers appear to have lost the previous momentum they once had, which could impact various sectors.
Previously, I wasn't the only one discussing the important topic of confinement centers.
Yes, at this point, there's no longer an upward trend in the stock's performance. That's why it's often referred to as a speculative stock, which means it's not something you should expect to have a significant demand in the market.
I genuinely believe that perhaps due to my own unique perspective, the cost of this item is too high, and moreover, it doesn't truly feel like something that belongs in my home environment.
In terms of the environment, it might be a very comfortable place to relax, but still, it's not really like that. Because you have that experience, you will definitely view it from a first-person perspective. But I purely look at it from a financial angle. Is it more expensive to live at home or to stay in Oxford for a month?
Staying in Oxford, for sure.
If you were to ask me whether I would feel happier and more at ease sleeping at home or in Oxford, I would undoubtedly say that home is far more comfortable for me. There's a unique sense of warmth and familiarity in my home that makes it a truly relaxing place to rest and recharge. However, if you inquire specifically in terms of monetary cost, then choosing to stay in a luxurious 5-star hotel would certainly be significantly more expensive.
It's not solely about experiencing happiness after giving birth, rather the abrupt transition from a blissful paradise to what can feel like utter chaos and despair necessitates significant psychological adjustment and resilience. This profound shift in emotions and circumstances can be overwhelming, requiring time and support to navigate effectively. By choosing to support the hospitals, which often come with high costs, you create a sense of security. It's akin to being in a paradise where every aspect of care is managed for you, allowing you to focus on recovery without the typical worries. However, if you happen to miss an appointment or fall behind, your mother will definitely find out about it and will likely scold you for not taking better care of yourself. Yeah, even getting my hair wet will get me scolded. It's incredibly annoying, isn't it? On another note, I was genuinely surprised by Cathay Pacific today. After they announced their earnings report, I found the results to be quite impressive and somewhat unexpected. It really caught my attention. I would love to hear your thoughts on their performance and whether you share the same view or have a different perspective. What do you think about their financial outlook moving forward? Because their revenue in the first half actually grew by 9.5%. Their earnings per share impressively increased by 8%, and now they are stating that their revenue for the first half has risen by 9.5% year on year, reaching a notable total of $54.3 billion. The attributable profit allocated to shareholders experienced a modest increase of 1.1%, reaching a total of 3.651 billion Hong Kong dollars. Additionally, the basic earnings per share saw a notable rise from 8.2%, now standing at 56.7 Hong Kong dollars. However, a significant concern arises as they are currently utilizing approximately 63.2 billion Hong Kong dollars, which poses potential implications for future financial stability. They plan to purchase 14 Boeing 777-9 aircraft. Do you think they are investing this substantial amount of money to acquire these planes, and that if their financial situation appears favorable, it won't pose an issue for them to allocate funds toward this capital expenditure.
Unless Cathay Pacific is facing insolvency or experiencing a significant shortage of funds, the company is not currently in a position where merely increasing capital expenditure, CapEx, would raise concerns in the market regarding their financial health. It is entirely reasonable for a reputable airline like Cathay Pacific to invest in purchasing new planes. Yeah, there's no problem with that. But their biggest problem is the $200 million loss from fuel hedging.
Oh, but is 200 million truly that large of a number?
For an airline, it's not a lot, right? Just give it to me. I believe that 200 million isn't a substantial amount. By the way, what is the total cost of their fuel expenses? Looking back, the fuel cost is 14.6 billion. Yes, 14.6 billion. I increased my profits by just 3.5%. If you don't hedge your investments at all, you're essentially losing $200 million for no valid reason, right? It's crucial to manage risks effectively. If you happen to lose, people may perceive you as merely throwing away your money without any purpose. If your passenger volume significantly increases and consequently you find yourself using more fuel, everyone will likely consider that a reasonable adjustment. However, if you merely hedge your investments in a random manner and end up losing, people will become concerned that you are repeating the same mistakes as in the past, when Cathay consistently faced financial losses each year without showing any signs of improvement. If they choose to gamble and ultimately lose, they still need to take steps to hedge their position. Hedging is a crucial strategy that must be implemented for conventional airlines to manage risks effectively. It serves as a protective measure to mitigate potential financial losses in their operations. However, I'm not entirely certain about the specific tools they employ, as they tend to keep that information confidential. Typically, it involves some form of adjustment or modification, but it appears that their luck in achieving favorable outcomes isn't particularly impressive or consistent.
Another important factor to consider is that you can clearly observe that Hong Kong Express is currently performing poorly in the market, correct? They have mentioned in their reports that they possess a significant amount of fast transport options available, but this does not seem to be translating into effective performance or customer satisfaction. I decided to purchase a ticket from Cathay Pacific, and my experience was quite positive because they managed my flight quickly and efficiently, even during the challenging circumstances of Typhoon Signal Number 8, which was less severe than a Signal Number 10. Their responsiveness made a significant difference, ensuring my travel plans were minimally disrupted amidst the storm. Their prompt and efficient service swiftly assisted me in locating a new flight, allowing me to return to Hong Kong sooner than I had anticipated. However, it's worth noting that some of my friends who were relying on fast transport options unfortunately found that their flights were completely cancelled, leaving them in a difficult situation. This stark contrast in experiences highlights the unpredictability of travel arrangements and the varying levels of support available to passengers during such unforeseen disruptions. They found themselves in a situation where they had to purchase an additional ticket for their return journey, and upon reflection, they noted that if you carefully calculate the total expenses involved, it turns out that the overall cost is actually not very different from the price of flying with Cathay Pacific Airlines.
No, this is something we've heard a lot about. I swear, next time I won't take it. You said it's just a matter of sending it, but actually, it's almost like this is your friend. Some people say, hey, I have to stuff this luggage into the coffin. If it doesn't fit, I have to pay extra. Then I go up and have to eat their sayu mai and egg waffles. Actually, their egg waffles are quite good. I eat them every time.
Really? How much is a box?
About $20.
Oh, that's okay, quite reasonable. Is it 20 or 30? 30 seems reasonable. Even the egg waffles are $34.
Hey, they heat it for you. Remember, there's no microwave on the plane. They heat it for you, crispy on the outside and soft on the inside, so it should be fine, I think. Yes, that's precisely why some people frequently complain about me bringing my favorite coffee on board, or when I attempt to bring a delicious McDonald's meal, it's unfortunately not allowed due to the rules and restrictions in place. Yeah, people often complain about things like that, but there's consistently a long line of customers, and it's always very crowded. The 3+3 seating arrangement always seems to have someone occupying the uncomfortable middle seat.
Does 3+3 mean that you have to pay extra for that particular seat?
Sure. Here's the expanded version of your text. No, it's not simply 3+3. They actually utilize smaller aircraft, not the larger commercial planes that many are familiar with. Generally speaking, people tend to prefer to sit in those smaller, cozier planes for various reasons, but now don't overlook the fact that many of their target customers have quite polarized opinions about their preferences. I happen to have some friends who fall into that category, and their views can be quite diverse and interesting. They could potentially be employed at Lisco, likely in managerial roles, discussing impressive annual salaries that are significantly high in comparison to industry standards. But when they have free time, even when chatting with me, it seems like they're addicted to their phones. Haha, they always have their phones out. Look, because sometimes, for example, if you happen to fly the day after tomorrow, they still have many tickets that remain unsold. These tickets can be super cheap. In fact, some tickets are truly excellent deals. My friend particularly loves to seek out these affordable tickets and often just flies over to Hiroshima for spontaneous adventures. Flying is such an adventure, especially because Hong Kong Express offers a unique route, right? Yes, they fly to destinations like Fukuoka and beyond. That's how it is. But this specific group represents a distinct set of target customers, whereas another group appeals to a more mainstream audience. These are individuals who in the past would not have traveled at all 2 decades ago or did not travel frequently. Yes, because when you think about it, many people who traveled 20 years ago may not even have had children yet. Back then, it was quite common for fewer families to take their children on trips. However, in the last decade or so, there's been a noticeable shift as more families are eager to take their kids along on adventures, especially since travel costs have significantly decreased. Yes. In the past, indeed, this specific group has increasingly become the primary target customer demographic for Hong Kong Express Airlines.
That's right.
Additionally, this particular group exhibits a distinct characteristic. They are exceedingly concerned about the health and well-being of their children. They often prioritize belief over factual accuracy, disregarding the truth in favor of their convictions. For instance, there is a widespread belief that Japan will undeniably experience earthquakes, almost as if such events are predetermined and scheduled to occur, which can lead to significant anxiety and fear among those who hold this belief. This mindset can have serious implications for their daily lives and decision-making processes. This situation significantly impacts tourism to Japan, particularly because the primary international flights are directed towards Japan rather than Vietnam, leading to a decrease in travelers and visitors who would typically explore the Japanese culture and attractions.
Thailand, along with Taipei, is indeed facing challenges. However, it was noted this time that their financial losses have reached a staggering 524 million. The chairman emphasized that the primary reason for these significant losses is, in fact, the adverse impact of earthquakes occurring in Japan, which has severely affected these traditionally popular travel destinations. The repercussions have been felt deeply in the tourism sector, leading to a downturn that has impacted both local economies and visitor numbers significantly. This unfortunate situation has significantly reduced their overall income and financial stability.
Yes, that's the case.
However, they noted that their passenger capacity has impressively grown by 38%. Additionally, they indicated that Hong Kong Express will continue to encounter various challenges ahead because even though it has been stated that after July 15th, I can't quite recall if it was July 5th when we were discussing the earthquake prediction, but Japan continues to face numerous challenges related to natural disasters.
What is it?
Oh, you mentioned the tsunami? Yes, that's right. So people are still really affected.
This time it actually belongs to Russia.
Oh, so it really shook quite a bit over there, right? But it's been an entire year, and who would have thought that it wouldn't reach Japan? As a result, many people really aren't attending the event. I currently have several family members who are stuck in Japan right now.
Transportation is indeed impacted by this.
Yes, and unfortunately, they are unable to return from Sendai. Originally, they indicated that they would proceed with the transfer, but now they are uncertain if they can actually move to Tokyo. Oh, right, that makes sense. So I'm not entirely sure if the overall situation in Japan will improve in the coming year, so I think it's best for us to wait and see how things unfold for a while longer. Regarding direct flights, just as Aki mentioned, there are indeed direct flights available to smaller destinations in Japan, such as those offered by Hong Kong Express. Yes, you just referred to Sendai. Hong Kong Express provides service to that location, which is quite convenient for travelers. Yes, they do, so they are taking Hong Kong Express. Yes, so they can't find a flight back.
It's not surprising for such a small plane. Indeed, a plane designed to carry only around 100 passengers or so.
Hey, I would like to ask if there's a possibility of going directly to Hokkaido or to Gigi House instead. Is there a direct flight for interviews?
Do you need me to share it right away?
No need for me to worry. The audience will certainly do that for me. Yes, that's right.
Let's attempt to express it directly without involvement.
Certainly. Here's an expanded version of the original text. Well, they will be engaging in discussions about this aviation matter, as it's currently a hot topic all over the place. Additionally, we also need to arrange our flight back to discuss Alibaba, because today, actually yesterday, I was surprised to hear my husband shouting at home. He exclaimed that Hema is gone, and I'm not quite sure what he meant by that. I mean, how could Hema possibly be gone? Jack Ma invested such a significant amount of money into this, so why did this happen? What do you mean by that? How could it possibly be like that? So I told him to open his eyes wider and really look at the title before speaking to me. He then responded with surprise, saying, "Oh, it turns out that it's not completely gone. They actually banned certain membership systems and have introduced this new 6-level membership program ranging from bronze to black diamond, which integrates with LME for better service and functionality. And various platforms such as Faizu and Hema appear to have specific rights. Unfortunately, I was unable to purchase their VIP membership. Additionally, I would like to mention that someone assisted me in searching for flights on Hong Kong Airlines. However, it turns out that Hong Kong Express is not available for booking at this time."
Oh, okay, thank you so much, everyone. Going to the bank is quite a painful experience, especially with no food available. But it's only about 5 hours, isn't it? It feels like it's 5 hours without any food, and usually they bring along iPads to keep everyone entertained.
Yes, that's right.
But hey, let me check once more to be sure. I am definitely planning to create some P-rated movies, and I will gladly pay for their production costs. Absolutely, yes, I will definitely do it. I will reserve my seat on Cathay Pacific, and then you just need to check the card, correct?
It's like when you go online on the plane and you look at the card and buy it. It's boring, but it's okay to watch a movie. They might charge you $10 for a movie, but I remember the experience is just sleeping. If you fly with Hong Kong Airlines, there are no movies to watch now.
Before, Hong Kong Airlines didn't have this specific option available. It seems that Hong Kong Airlines had a red livery over 20 years ago, but that design has since disappeared. Even the business class service has been discontinued entirely. It's truly quite sad to think about it. That's why I always say, if I choose to fly with Hong Kong Airlines, I would opt to buy their real food, as it is very affordable. Their genuine food options are cheaper than Cathay Pacific's premium economy meals.
What? Yeah, it's quite exaggerated in comparison to reality. Also, let's check if there are any early flights available, but it appears there aren't any at the moment. However, we're flying back to Alibaba first, which is an early flight option for us. I was initially pondering how to effectively sell their membership system, but now I realize that their VIP membership starts at a reasonable price of $88, which could attract many potential customers. There are numerous additional benefits available, such as shopping with red envelopes and receiving lucky money, along with complimentary upgrades on Fliggy, which can be utilized up to a maximum of 5 times. These perks enhance the overall experience for users. Additionally, there are a total of 4 opportunities each month for guests to enjoy a late checkout, which can be quite convenient. Moreover, every month you receive 80 yuan in ride vouchers for DD, making transportation easier and more affordable. There is also a gold card service available for 31 hotels providing various benefits. However, perhaps due to my background as an old Hong Kong resident, I find that I don't often take advantage of these VIP perks as much as I could. However, it's possible that a larger number of individuals in mainland China utilize these stocks. What are your thoughts on this recent news? In the past, there were frequent discussions about whether, following the speculation of the 700 stocks, the 9988 stock would also experience similar speculation. Today, it closed at 116.7, which is quite significant.
While it may be lagging behind in terms of performance, I don't perceive a significant business opportunity arising from this situation. These challenges seem to stem solely from internal competition, and they appear to be merely focused on avoiding strategies that could exacerbate this internal rivalry. The internal competition means you shouldn't compete by burning money or lowering prices, but rather find another way to compete. Hey, if you say it like that, are you worried about further regulations in the mainland? If they regulate, you can't do anything about it. In reality, you can't regulate internal competition because everyone needs to survive and they can only fight for the limited business. The market is just that big and everyone is fighting for it. So you have to come up with clever strategies to compete. As a consumer, you can't predict how dark the future is, nor how bright it might be. If I can't see it, I won't spend money. Yes. So with this strategic approach, you might have noticed that in recent years, many mainland businesses are shifting away from competing primarily on price and are instead focusing on encouraging customers to purchase discount coupons. You can purchase 9% off coupons or 8% off coupons at an incredibly low price, possibly just 1 yuan each. Therefore, if I decide to buy 10 of them, that totals just 10 yuan. The focus here is on preserving cash initially. However, you might end up acquiring a stack of these coupons, but inadvertently forget to utilize them before they expire. Certainly. Here's the expanded text. Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. There are indeed far too many physical coupons available. When we refer to physical coupons, we're highlighting those tangible pieces of paper or cards. In your app, however, those coupons won't just vanish into thin air. They remain accessible. You might purchase as many as 20 takeaway coupons within a single month, but that's not to say you will actually order takeaway food 20 different times during that same period. In recent years, you can clearly see that some e-commerce platforms are increasingly focusing on this strategy to effectively maintain their cash flow and financial stability. But this situation isn't exactly a gold mine. The amount of money you are able to keep is unfortunately quite limited. So what you can do is sell for 1 yuan, then sell for 90 cents, then 50 cents, and then 20 cents. The competition is all about these coupons. So I'm not saying that. The competition is about using this method to compete.
But for Alibaba, considering that the Hong Kong stock market is currently rebounding back to the 25,000 mark, the stock price still stands at 116. Is there a possibility that some optimistic fans might believe it has the potential to rise even higher in the coming days? Be sure to keep a close watch on this situation, as we are all aware that Alibaba's previous valuation was approximately $250 billion. To be honest, it once soared to over 500 billion. Additionally, Tencent has also experienced a resurgence in its valuation. This makes it crucial to stay informed about these developments in the tech sector.
Don't say that. Do you really think I'm at that level? Ha ha ha, come on, just let it go and focus on the future instead. There are so many better things ahead of us to look forward to. That's absolutely true, because the market isn't as foolish as some might believe. It won't suddenly awaken to the existence of a prominent stock called Alibaba without reason. This stock has been under careful observation. Everyone is meticulously calculating their moves and holding onto their money for strategic reasons. Unless the market rises to the point where everyone is gaining, only then will you consider it. However, upon closely analyzing today's market trend, it becomes increasingly evident that the asset is experiencing a downward trajectory from its previously high position. Each time it approaches the 10-day moving average, it tends to decline significantly. This pattern raises some concerns for me, as I perceive it to be somewhat risky. Given these observations, I might very well take a serious look into the possibility of shorting it to mitigate potential losses. 50-day MA is 113. If you carefully look down to a 104, you'll notice there's already a gap of 9. If you utilize your particular setup, it's actually quite impressive and effective.
So, we'll go ahead and wrap up this particular segment here for now. For the remaining short amount of time we have left, let's shift our focus to discussing PLTR, which is actually your intriguing piece of interest, right? This could provide some valuable insights. Clearly not, haha, I'm not very familiar with that topic, so let's not delve into it too much or get into any detailed discussions about it, because it appears to be consistently reaching new highs. Let's take a moment to discuss in more detail why it is currently reaching new highs in the market. Their quarterly revenue has impressively reached $1 billion for the very first time in the company's history, which has prompted them to raise their full-year performance forecast significantly to reflect this remarkable achievement. They achieved an impressive milestone of $1 billion for the very first time, marking a significant 48% year-on-year increase, which notably exceeded the market expectation of $940 million. Additionally, they reached a remarkable new high, climbing up to 176. Furthermore, they have made adjustments to the full-year performance forecast, now projecting that annual revenue will be between $4.14 billion and $4.15 billion. This revised estimate represents a notable increase from their previous calculation of $3.89 billion, reflecting positive growth expectations. For this current quarter, the revenue forecast is projected to be approximately $1.08 billion. However, there's another important point to note. The CEO mentioned that while they plan to strategically increase overall revenue, they will also need to reduce the number of employees, which currently stands at a total of 4,100 individuals. This decision reflects a shift in their operational strategy moving forward. He mentioned that they might reduce the workforce to approximately 3,600 employees, which isn't significantly drastic, just a modest decrease of a few hundred staff members from the current total. This action will significantly reduce employee expenses. So, what exactly does this mean for Palantir Technologies, PLTR, moving forward? There's not much to say, right?
As he mentioned during our discussion, I'm currently examining the monthly earnings in detail, and to be honest, I'm particularly focused on the employees. Those employees, because I must admit that I haven't really paid much attention to this critical aspect until now. It's important to understand how their performance and contributions impact the overall financial situation, and I realize that this deserves more consideration than I had previously given it. But you can clearly see that their overall revenue has significantly increased over the past few quarters. It has experienced a significant increase of approximately 48%, primarily driven by substantial large orders and the growing influence of artificial intelligence technology. Alex mentioned that our innovative AI solutions are just beginning to make their mark in the industry. He highlighted that we are at the forefront of technological advancements and there is so much more potential to explore and develop. With ongoing research and continuous improvements, our AI capabilities are poised to evolve significantly in the coming months and years, offering even greater benefits and efficiencies to our clients and partners alike. Consider letting go of your negative perspective on this stock. In the rapidly evolving era of artificial intelligence, I haven't yet delved deeply into the specific employee situation and its complexities, but it is evident that you can significantly optimize workflows by leveraging the capabilities of AI technologies. By implementing AI-driven solutions, businesses can enhance efficiency, streamline processes, and improve overall productivity, ultimately leading to better outcomes for both employees and the organization as a whole. This particular type of analytical enterprise can significantly enhance overall operational efficiency. Additionally, they have recently secured a substantial order from the US military, which is quite interesting and significant for their business operations. Their revenue streams are primarily divided between government contracts and commercial sales, with each sector contributing roughly half of their total income. Moreover, they face minimal competition in the government sector, which positions them advantageously for future growth and stability. This unique market position may lead to increased opportunities and profitability for the company. The indicators have been thoroughly analyzed and broken down into various components, and it can confidently be said that they are quite unique and distinct in the current market landscape. Therefore, I believe this intriguing phenomenon hasn't changed or evolved significantly as of now, maintaining its original characteristics and appeal for the time being.
So if you currently own stocks, it's best to simply hold on to them for now.
I will certainly do that. Once you own stocks, it's widely understood among investors. Many people within the finance community are aware of this.
Time has truly flown by incredibly fast in this particular episode of the show.
Today, we've discussed a variety of topics, including Cathay Pacific's recent developments, Hong Kong Express's operations, and even briefly explored the rare topic of GA.
Next week, you should definitely be back, right? Yes, that's correct. Next week, I will return. However, I won't have a guest for the time being because the guest I had planned to feature suddenly became unavailable at the last minute. Oh, I almost forgot to mention that I was supposed to work some overtime today due to an important project. Next week, we will be back in the studio with our colleague Ryan to carefully analyze the major events and trends in the Hong Kong stock market. Thank you all for your insightful comments, and I genuinely hope you continue to ask even more questions in the next episode. Your engagement is greatly appreciated. We will meet again at the same time next week. Goodbye, everyone. Take care. Bye.